Oftentimes in order to get over infidelity, or at least be on your journey to it, is you have to lead anger and frustration and disappointment into grief and deal with the grieving process. Now, how do you do this? Well, number one, make sure that you have some type of community connection. We need others, and if that's a very trusted, reliable friend or family member, fine, a mental health professional, but we need community, we need connection. Also, don't let this define you. This is just a chapter. This isn't your book. Also, don't compare yourself to others. Oftentimes we get on social media and we're like, oh, mine is worse and whatever. Bottom line, whoever wins, you still lose. Not to mention, oftentimes you're comparing your chapter 1 to somebody else's chapter 20. The last thing I want to say, or one of the last things I want to say is, and this is one of the toughest ones, is radical acceptance, but finding the silver lining. So listen, you can't rewind time. As much as you could beg, scream, bargain, you cannot rewind time. So you have to radically accept what happened, but then find the silver lining. Okay, they talked to people, or they were on porn, but they didn't meet up with anybody. They met up with somebody and they talked, but they weren't intimate. Or they met up with somebody and they talked and they were intimate, but at least they didn't give me a disease. Or they met up with somebody, they talked, they were intimate, they gave me a disease, but at least they didn't get pregnant. Or they met up with somebody, they talked, they were intimate, they gave me a disease, they were pregnant, but at least they didn't, come into the house and set the house on fire. And trust me, I've worked with couples where that's happened. So wherever you are, whatever the situation is, think of the worst case scenario, because somebody is experiencing it, and try to find the silver lining of your situation. And the last thing I want to say, is oftentimes one of the hardest things to do is to tweak the person that we created in our minds that our partner was. And here's the tough part about that difficult part is, and I'm cold, so I need to go home. One of the tough parts about that is not completely changing the person who you thought they were with. Because listen, they're still the same generous person, the same thoughtful person, the same kind person. But now just absorbing into that story, they had weaknesses, they had injuries, they had vulnerabilities. And unfortunately, they made one of the most horrific, hurtful decisions on how to help deal with and cope with their injuries, their vulnerabilities, and their weaknesses. Keep in mind, I say it all the time, none of this is a cure-all, and no part of healing after infidelity is fun or fair.